So what we're looking at is to somehow make each set of parentheses set equal to 0 to find our answer. Now, if I said I had x plus 2 equal to 0, what number would x have to be? A negative 2, right? Because negative 2 plus 2 would be a 0. This is kind of like part of a factored answer here. So what you're going to do is take this piece, remove the parentheses, put the values equal to 0, and then solve the actual problem. X equals negative 2. Your common sense got you the right answer. But not every problem is going to have such an easy common sense answer. So let's look at the notes and work our way through it, okay? So this is for page 4 of the factoring packet. We're looking at quadratic equations and we're solving them. So we need to make sure everything is set equal to 0. And for example, this first problem, this is if I were to FOIL this, I would get a quadratic equation. So this is after I've done all my work, I've gotten down to these two pieces, right? These two factors. Notice I'm taking what's in this set of parentheses and setting it equal to 0, and I'm taking what's in this set of parentheses and setting it equal to 0. So far, so good. I'm now working these two problems. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides here. So x equals 3. I'm going to add 7 to both sides here. And so this cancels out, and x equals 7. So the answers are going to be x is 3 and x is 7. Now what happens is, suppose x was 3. A 3 would go here and a 3 would go here, right? Well, here this did not make a 0, did it? 3 take away 7, but here it did. So 0 times whatever this turns out to be is still a 0. You see that? And maybe I take the number 7. Maybe x is a 7. 7 take away 3 is a 4. Well, that didn't turn into be a 0, but 7 minus 7 does. So 4 times 0 still is a 0. Are you seeing kind of how that all comes together a little bit? Okay, so ultimately that's what you're doing. You're going to have problems, and in the end you set it equal to 0 to find what numbers make it true. So see if you can do this, try it, find the solution there, and you'll need to have 2 answers, okay? If there's 2 problems, you have to have 2 answers. So write it down and set it equal to 0, each half. Did you do it already? Okay. How did you do? Did you do good? Okay, so that's pretty easy, right? But you did it right, right? Yes, ma'am.
I don't get the left part.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go, this is taking us way back at the very beginning of the year. I don't have any tissue boxes. don't have any to share. No, I'm sorry. Okay. This is taking us way back to kind of towards the beginning of the year when we were solving all of those equations. Remember, you're at the party who's leaving. You're trying to get the variable by itself.
Oh, it's like that.
Yeah. Kind of, yes. You're back to Romeo and Juliet, but much easier, okay? So we're trying to get the variable by itself. So we're going to go do the opposite. If it's a negative 6 here, I'm putting a plus 6 on both sides. I need to get the m by itself, so these two are multiplying. I do the opposite operation, which is dividing both sides by the 3. Are you good now?
Yeah,
It's big.
So I just had to send it. I
Okay.
got the other part first.
Okay, cool. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't do the third thing. I just substituted 2 in with it and 3.
Well, that's fine when you can use some common sense, but it won't always be that easy. We might have fractions and things. So please learn to do the equations, okay? Get back into equation solving. Yes, sir. Hang on. Did you understand it? Okay. Then you're fine. You're fine. Okay. Yes, sir. Bring what over? You're not being specific for me. Right, you're solving to get the variable by itself. So I'm doing the opposite operation. That's how you solve equations mathematically. You do the opposite of what's happened to it. Okay? Now on this one, this doesn't have two sets of parentheses, but it still have two things being multiplied together? Right, so I still set each piece equal to 0, even though it's not technically in parentheses. So you're going to have the -3 with the m. That piece could become a 0, or the 2m plus 1 could become a 0. And we have to work it out. Side by side, I'm going to divide. Perfect. So m could be a 0. These two are being multiplied together. To solve equations, you have to do the opposite math that's happening. So since these two things are added together, to undo it, I have to subtract the 1 from both sides. And now we're going to divide by 2. Correct. And I want to see fractions. I do not want to see decimals on your homework, please. Nope, don't want any decimals. Everybody okay with this so far? More or less? Okay. And it's been a while since we've done just basic equation solving. And this is about as complicated, you know, it's not going to get really bad on the solving part. Yes, sir? It's a -1/2. Okay. Well, your answer should be a -1/2, and don't depend on your calculator too much. If it's not giving you the right answer, something's not being entered correctly, and we need to make sure we're doing that right. All right. So sometimes you're going to have, not sometimes, frequently you're going to have a problem that is not already in parentheses. It is not already to a point where you can solve it. It's going to look like this, and it's going to be set equal to 0. You have to factor this to make those two factors. Then solve those two answers. Set them equal to 0. So if I look at this, and if it hadn't been worked out for me already, I would have to factor this problem. This is a trinomial. Is it one of the special ones? Does it have a greatest common factor? No. So that means I have to do the a times the c. So you're still doing factoring. So a times c would be a 1 times the 48, right? The -48. So I would have a -48. I need things that multiply to make a -48, but add to make your b value of -8. What numbers would do that for us? 4 and 12? Okay, 4 times 12. Now, I need my adding answer to be negative, so that means the bigger of the two has to be negative, correct? All right. Remember, if you have the a value as a 1, it's faster because you already know you get to put an x here and an x here. You don't have to do the grouping thing. So now I just have to enter my 4 and my -12. So x plus 4, x minus 12, and that equals 0. That's what they've done here. And then they just solved it. Now that you've created those parentheses, now you're setting them each equal to 0. But just like we did in the very first example, okay? So sometimes it'll be set up nice, sometimes it won't. You just have to factor it if it's not. See if you can do try it A. Let's factor it. Greatest common factor? No. Special kind? Nope. Leading coefficient of 1? Yep. Good to see. So I automatically know I'm going to have an x. Now I just have to figure out what numbers multiply to make a 24, but come back to add to make a negative 11. And a 3 and an 8, and they would both have to be negative, right? Because a negative times a negative would make a positive. So this is going to be a -3. This could be a -8. And now I solve this. So what will x equal here? X equals a +3, and x equals a +8. Ma'am? Yes. 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 I actually did separate it. I did this. But it was one that was relatively straightforward. So if you add 3 to both sides, you get a +3. If you add 8 to both sides, you got the +8. Okay? So far, so good? So you see what I mean? You know how to do most of this already. It's just this last set of parentheses, setting it equal to 0. What's wrong with try it B? It doesn't equal 0. So what will you need to do? Make it a 0. How? You guys are my brilliant peoples. Okay, so I would have a 2x squared minus the 5x. I'm going to move the 88. I'm going to subtract 88 from both sides because I need to create a 0. So now it's going to be a -88 equals 0. Right. Only, yeah, because when you were confused, but this is a whole different ball game. This is a different type of problem. So, all right. I subtracted 88 from both sides. It's still in part of the problem. It just moved to the other side of the equation. Okay. All right. A, B, C. Got to A times C it. And it's not a 1, so we're going to have to factor by grouping. So 2 times -88 is a -176. And it has to add to become a -5. There is no shortcut for this type of thing, guys. It's a guess and check, plug and chug into your calculator. I have no brilliant, quick answers for you. All right, so 176 divided by, I don't know, 3? Nope. 176 divided by 4. Okay, so 4 and 44. Yeah, that's not going to work. 176 divided by 6. Nope. Divided by 7. Nope. 176 divided by 8. 8 works. Okay, 8 and 22. All right, we're getting there. Still not a difference of 5 because I need them to add up to be a 5. So 176 divided by 9. Nope. Oops, that was times 9. That was bad. 176 divided by 9. Nope. 176 divided by 11. Aha! 11 and 16. That has a difference that there's 5 spaces between them, and I needed 5 spaces between them. But I need it to be a -5 spaces. So that means the 16 has to be the negative guy. All right, so now I know what I need to do. The first term stays the same, 2x squared. Instead of the 5x, I replace it with these two values. Which one do you want to put with the 2x squared? The -16 might be a smarter choice because when I have to factor this out, it will probably turn out better. All right, so there's the -16, there's the +11, and yes, I'm double checking. If I add them together, I do get the -5 as my former middle term. Factor by grouping. Greatest common factor here would be a 2 with an x. And so if I divide by 2x, the 2's cancel out and I'm left with an x. The x's cancel out and I'm left with a negative 8. On the right-hand side, greatest common factor I think looks like an 11. No, I think we're good. Positive 11 will work. Because the 11's cancel out and I'm left with a positive x. Negative 88, that'll give me a negative 8. I now have a greatest common factor, and I can turn this into two factors now, right? Okay, so one set of parentheses looks like this. The other factor would be the 2x plus the 11, and it's still equal to 0. Now I can do the easier part. I'm going to take them separately. X minus 8 could equal 0, and 2x plus 11 could equal 0. And now we work each side. On this side, we would add 8 to both sides. So we get x could be an 8. And on this side, we're going to subtract 11 from both sides. And then we're going to divide to get the x by itself. And we're going to leave the fraction because we like fractions. And we're lazy. We don't want to have to do any more work, right? We're done. Good to go. Yeah, it's perfectly fine to leave it. You're done. Yeah, once you get the fraction, you're done, okay? The only time you would go further with that, Jaden, would be like, let's say it was a negative 12 over a 2. You could simplify that. But this can't simplify, so we just leave it alone. Any questions so far? Seems straight. Like I said, you know how to do most of this. You've been doing it for about 4 or 5 days now. Let's look at this last one, because I want you to not be scared of the big ones. This one's actually easier than the one we just did. It doesn't look easier, but it is. What's wrong with this one? Yeah, I've got both these guys on the right-hand side. I need a 0, so I'm going to move everybody over, right? Both of them will turn into negative things. So there's my equal sign, and there's the 0. I need to subtract 2y squared. And I need to subtract a 4. So you see what I did? I kind of did it in the same move. I just moved them over, both at the same time, sort of. I know you recognize that. I'm so happy for you. Yay, you're one of the few people that did that. Okay, so when I subtract this, I get the 4y squared plus the 12y I'm bringing down plus a 9, and it's equal to 0. Well, we didn't get it into parentheses to set it equal to 0 yet, did we? No, we're not done. Does this have the shortcut? Yes. This has the shortcut. They both have square roots, right? The first term and the last term have square roots. Let's do this. So the square root of the 4y squared is a 2y. The square root of the 9 is a 3. They're both going to be positives. And now I get to do my final step. One last problem part I got to solve. Do I have to do both of them? No, you just have to have one answer on this because both of the sets of the parentheses are identical to each other, okay? So that means we have 2y plus 3 is equal to 0. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. I'm running out of room. So I have 2y now is equal to a negative 3. Dividing by 2, bless you. Y equals a negative 3 halves. You good? Okay. Let's look at your page 4 on the packet, please. And let's look at what we're going to be dealing with, all right? Look at problems 1 through 6. Good problems 1 through 6. I can't put my packet up there because my answers are on it. Or I would... Huh? But look at problems 1 through 6. Are those going to be fast and fairly easy? Yes. Look at problem 7. That is not a shortcut one. Even though 4 has the square root, this time it's a -4 on number 7. That's why it doesn't work, right? There's no square root of a negative number. Not yet, anyway.
Sweet.
You have to do the A times the C thing, make the T table, make the table, okay? But there's a total of 24 problems. So I'm suggesting that maybe you try to get up to maybe 18 or 19. And then tomorrow you'll have about 30 minutes of class time to finish it. We will grade this at the end of the hour tomorrow and then staple all of your work for pages 3 and 4 together and turn this in. Okay? Do you have any questions?
I thought you said try to get it sitting over at 19 by the end of the day.
Oh, no. Well, that would be good by the end of the day because that would be when your homework's done, you know, I mean, overall.
I was just thinking like by the end of this class period.
Oh, no.